In this module, we will be looking at one of the most important parts of web design, creating a planning document or brief. This module was designed to give you a sense of how to plan with the client. But if you don't have a client, no problem. Just imagine yourself in the role of both the client and the web designer. We will begin by discussing how planning fits in the overall process of web design. Trying to build a website without creating a project plan or brief would be like trying to build a house without a set of blueprints. The project brief sets the purpose, scope, and requirements of the project. It is also a way to articulate expectations between the client and the web designer. Please be aware that the project brief we will create in this module is not a contract, but rather a description of the project. And while it could be used as a binding agreement between a client and a web designer, I would recommend that you take a class on business contracts or seek the advice of a lawyer if you feel that you need extra legal protection. Now let's take a look at the activities necessary for a successful completion of this module. The reading will consist of the following. First, you will look at a brief overview of the web design process workflow. Next, you will read about the process of planning a website. Goals definition is next on the list. This is sometimes a difficult concept for students to grasp. Business or site goals must be something measurable, like cutting down on phone calls, increasing sales, creating brand awareness. What they are not are things like making a site that is easy to navigate, making a site that is fun or artistic. Those things cannot be measured. User goals are about what a user will get out of your site while they're on the site or when they leave the site. On the concepting page, you will read about how to describe the function of your site, the focus of your site, and the format of your site. Be sure to read this carefully as you will need to include this information in your final project brief. Then you will read about research. This means identifying your audience, finding out about your client, and looking at other similar sites. Finally, you will take a look at the requirements for your project brief. I highly recommend copying and pasting the contents of this page to use as an outline. First, you must draft an introductory statement where you describe the purpose of your site in the context of your client's business and marketing needs. Next, you will write a concept that includes the function, focus, and format of the site. Be sure to carefully read the concepting page in order to fully understand what I'm looking for here. Next, you will add a flowchart of pages on your site and how they are organized. I've included a tutorial that will walk you through the creation of an organization chart in Word. The inventory of site content, where you will describe the content of the site, both existing content and content that will need to be created. I have included a link to a table here that will help you organize this section. The agreement section is where you describe what is expected of you and the client. At a minimum, it should include the scope of the project, the number of pages, images, words, links, forms, videos, etc. I would also include a section to deal with creep or changes. Basically, creep is when the client keeps adding stuff, and changes would be ones the client requests after approval of major milestones. Also, specify who is hosting the site. A lot of times, the client is expecting you to do so. Just be sure you know what you're getting into as far as hosting goes, and costs and all that. You should also include a work schedule or timetable for major project milestones. Many designers also include a payment schedule that coincides with the completion of major milestones. Be sure to provide an initial quote and how much any extras will cost. Another client expectation is that you will maintain and update the site forever. If this is something you want to do, then specify how much you will charge for it. If not, then say so. Remember, this is all about being specific about expectations. Finally, include a clause about final payment and be sure to specify a refund or bailout clause. This is in case you get the client from hell that you absolutely cannot go another day working for, and will allow you to be paid for work completed or to refund payment for work not completed. That's it for this week. Hope you have fun with it. Please get a hold of me or Rebecca if you have any problems or have any questions.